Hi everyone, and welcome back to my weekly video on culinary wellness. And today I want to talk about consumption and the influence that it has over our lives. So when I say the word consume, what does that mean to you? Now, for most people, they think food. But in fact, we can choose to consume anything that we expose ourselves to, be that what we choose to see or watch, what we listen to, what we expose our bodies to. So that could be beauty products, sunshine, what we eat, what we drink, the things that we buy, and what that voice in our heads tells us day in and day out. Consumerism is ultimately a choice, but it's not an easy one because temptation, it's thrown at us all of the time via TV, radio, newspapers, magazines, the internet, social media, just so many different channels. And what we consume influences us. What others consume can influence us as well, be that family, work, friends, even the neighbour down the road. And we are a product of what we consume, and what we consume influences who we become. It influences how we live our life and how we interpret the life and the people all around us. It becomes part of our identity and in turn how we identify with the external world. And often we'll make judgments based on how what we consume influences us. Now, living in the jungle distanced me from a lot of the normal channels of consumerism. TV, newspapers, magazines, shops, and for much of the time I was there, the internet. And so I got out of the habit of using many of these channels. Only really the internet and the use of the internet was a channel that I started using a lot more in the last couple of years of me being there, and that was because it had become a lot more accessible in those later years. So coming back to the UK was really challenging because the tendency is to consume. It's what everyone does. Consuming is easy. It's a much more difficult choice to choose not to consume because it's got to be a conscious choice, which often means avoiding situations where consumerism exists. For example, I lived for many years without a TV. When I came back, I chose not to start watching, consuming what was on the TV. Because to be honest, there are far better things that I could be doing with my time. Yet everyone has a TV and it's often on. So I don't watch TV. I don't listen to the radio. I don't read the newspaper. I do enjoy the odd magazine, but it will be one about health and well-being or about food. I'm very conscious about what I eat. I remove myself or I don't engage in social events that I find negative, and I distance myself from negative people. My consumption vices are social media, tech and gadgets. So I try to manage them. So I set screen time limits. I'll turn my notifications off between 7 o'clock in the evening and 9 o'clock in the morning. And I try to be very conscious of when I'm sitting there just scrolling. So I want you to have a think about all of the things that you consume. Take some time and put some conscious effort into identifying all of the things that you expose yourself to. And determine, do you consciously consume in a healthy way? Is what you eat and drink healthy? Or at least do you follow the 80-20 rule? You'll hear me talk a lot about the 80-20 rule, which is about eating good wholesome food 80% of the time and indulging no more than 20%. Do you watch positive and uplifting TV? There's lots of different content on TV. What exactly is it that you're watching? Do you limit your screen time? Now, are you aware when the content that you're consuming turns negative? And if you are conscious, do you continue to consume that negative content, or do you switch to something more positive? So the news, I find the news very negative. But I like positive news stories. So that's a really difficult one for me, because I find that the news tends to be kind of 80% negative. So I choose not to watch the news, and I'll go and seek out, through my own personal research, positive stories. So I really want to encourage you to take more notice of what you consume and how you consume. Ultimately, happiness can only come from within. And most of what you consume has little or no value if you become sick, and you can't take it with you when you go. So my advice is consume wisely. And then that means that what you consume is what you will become. You will become wise. Thanks for listening again, and I'll see you next week.